then there are situations such as the class suspensions because of the H1N1 virus, where faculty and students could not meet on campus, and they had to find a way. They have to minimize the. Yeah, they have to find a way to make up the lost time. And in that situation, faculty, for instance, could have that software recorded on their own laptops at their own homes and record lectures and post them online to the students. And then when they meet, they discuss the lecture or the topic. That is not interactive, and that takes away from the face-to-face meeting. Definitely. Because one of the most important parts about face-to-face teaching and learning is the interaction and having the discussion come and go. So it's asynchronous in the sense that the students watch it at a time and then discuss it at a different time, and they're not all together in one place. So synchronous, which is face-to-face, or there are technologies that are starting to come in for synchronous, but the way we see it is it complements face-to-face education.
The existing normal type of learning.
And it helps with better time utilization, if you will. For instance, if there's a big theoretical part of the topic, that could be recorded in a lecture that the students could watch before they get to class. Okay, and then use the class time, which is a limited amount of time, to discuss the topic they've already watched and seen, and they have their questions about it, rather than waste half the class time giving just theory and then having less time to discuss.
Another important point is that you used to see half of the class writing notes during the lecture. The other half is actually listening, so it's two different techniques. One is actually listening to the lecture from the very beginning till the end, and the other is actually writing notes all the time and then reviewing his own notes. So I don't think they're now in need to take notes.
They don't really need to take notes, of course. They can give their full attention to the lecturer, and on the other hand, having the lecture available for them online 24/7 means they can deal with it at their own pace. There are slower learners and faster learners, so the presenter in the classroom will have a certain pace which could be too quick for some people or too boring for the others. But if it's online and they can...
He does not have to repeat or go slow, he just can go with the flow, and then whoever is slow enough would have to catch up to the level.
They have the same resource available for them to catch up.
Existing. Actually, this is like really interesting, because I believe it takes learning to another level. But if you can tell us, how long have been this experience going on, and did you measure its impact on the students?
Well, it started out in spring semester of 2009, which is like 1 year ago.
Yes.
It picked up in fall semester, specifically with the 2 class suspensions because of the H1N1 threat.
So it came in a very timely time.
Yeah, it was very useful, of course. A lot of faculty were able to make up time and lost time with that technology. Currently, we have about 95 to 100 online lectures.
Yes.
By like 40 or 45 faculty members. There are, the system, one of the nice things about it too is that it gives out statistical data on how many minutes were viewed, how many users came in to view those minutes, that kind of thing. Currently, we're between semesters, and we're now.
But these measures were really. Was it good? Was it going good?
The way what we've seen with just by looking at it is that was very useful. Yeah.
From an educational perspective, did it really have an impact where you found the grades for the same classes for this year is higher than last year? Because I believe it's more handy, it's more resourceful.
Like I was saying, we're in between semesters and we're doing a few surveys these days to measure that at AUC. But there are other established institutions in the United States and all over the world that use the technology, and they've had those surveys published. And the outcome is students using what we call blended learning, which is blending the face-to-face education with the online resources. They have similar grades or better grades than those with face-to-face only or with online only. Because
so it's not less, it's similar or more.
Similar or more, yeah.
But I had the feeling it might be much better because, you know, having the lecture with online, you can review it once and twice.
Yeah, in time, I believe it should. But right now,
because the way the adoption way.
Yeah, it needs to get more mainstream before it can be that powerful and of an impact on grades and education.
What about video conferencing? So does it complement the story? How are you using the video conferencing? Is it for professors abroad?
Yeah, well, with video conferencing is well. Let me just put the difference between that and this and that. With lecture capture, you get an archive of lectures that are what we call video on demand. So you watch it when you need to watch it. Video conferencing is real time. Yeah. So it's about bridging the distances, bridging the gaps. There's the various examples of its usage are, for instance, a student having to be in one country but getting their master's in a different country, and they need to do their thesis defense during the period when they're in different countries, or their professor is in a third country, so that's when video conferencing comes in really handy. And so it's like being in the same room. Yes. That's one thing. The other thing is sometimes you get a professor that's teaching a course, but they have to go to a conference, for instance, for a couple of weeks. Yes. So they could give their lectures using video conferencing for those weeks, those 2 weeks, so they don't have to do makeup classes or get their students behind schedule. The third part is having jointly taught courses. For instance, a professor here and a professor in a university in the States could be teaching the same course at the two different institutions with two different types of students, and those they have mutual readings, they have mutual quizzes, they have everything that's run by the two sides, but it's very efficient and useful in such disciplines where, for instance, like Middle Eastern studies, the US-based students would benefit a lot from getting the input of the Middle Eastern students.
This exchange actually is
cultural differences and the other, and that kind of bridging of the gap between the East and the West, and so that
what you're talking about is actually it's a leap in education, I guess.
Of course.
You guys are really geeks and making like smart lives, using the technology and making it much easier than what we used to experience.
Well, we try our best, and the best way to show or to make lives of for instance an art professor easier is to make it as simple as possible for them.
Yes. All right, and the best way definitely is leveraging technology. Ahmad Zorkani, Senior Instruction and Video Service Specialist for American University in Cairo. Thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure too. Thank you.